5 red heifers. All these elements are in place for what some Jews and Gentiles believe is the key to building the third Jewish temple.
Surprisingly, Israel's long-awaited Third Temple might be revealed to the world soon, and this promise is the fulfillment of groundbreaking prophecies of the end of the world. The world is excited, but there is just one problem as a fierce battle unfolds over the Temple Mount. Recently, however, scientists have uncovered something shocking that may change the status quo. When will the Third Temple be built? What relevance is all of this for the world? Let's find out. In 1969, it was shocking when an Australian Christian tourist named Dennis Michael Rohan set fire to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, causing extensive damage to one of the holiest sites in Islam. You might be wondering, would anyone want to set fire to this kind of sacred place? Well, the answers all boil down to the Third Temple, whose building the tourists had intended to facilitate. The construction of a third temple in Israel has remained a prominent theme, ringing across the world for centuries now, also creating diverse dialogue and conflicts between the Christians and Muslims. The building of the Third Temple has been long anticipated for centuries now, but surprisingly, no one is tired of waiting for the day when it will all become a reality. Of course, the Third Temple would be the holiest of places for the Jews, if built, but its importance goes beyond this. In fact, the building of the Third Temple might hold the key to wrapping up this age. According to numerous prophecies, if the Messiah must come, then the Third Temple must be built. But what is the Third Temple all about in the first place? Well, the idea of a Third Temple is based on the belief that a new, rebuilt temple will one day stand in Jerusalem. Different religious and theological perspectives exist on the significance and timing of this event. For some, it is seen as a crucial aspect of the Messianic era, while others may interpret it differently. This concept is closely tied to eschatology and varies among Jewish denominations and religious traditions. Indeed, the construction of the Third Temple is a complex and sensitive topic with various interpretations and beliefs associated with it. Now, the Third Temple is only called the Third Temple because there was a First and Second Temple. As a matter of fact, temples are regarded as the dwelling place of God in Jewish tradition. The First and Second Temple were central to Jewish religious practice, including sacrifices, prayer, and other rituals. They symbolized a direct connection between the Jewish people and God. Again, temples represent the spiritual and cultural heart of Judaism. They are a symbol of the Jewish connection to the land of Israel and the aspiration for the rebuilding of the Third Temple. The Jewish temple, specifically the Second Temple in Jerusalem, was a complex structure with several components and areas, each serving specific purposes in religious practice. Here, some of the key elements and what they contain include the Holy of Holies, or Kodesh HaKodashim. This innermost and holiest chamber contained the Ark of the Covenant, which held the stone tablets inscribed with the Ten Commandments. It was a harbinger of God's presence and the secret to Israel's might and preservation. The Ark of the Covenant, which is also known as the Ark of the Testimony, was a wooden chest or box made of acacia wood and overlaid with gold, both inside and out. It had a lid known as the mercy seat, made of solid gold, with 2 cherubim, angelic figures, facing each other and their wings spread over the top. The ark was carried using poles inserted through rings on its sides. Because directly touching the ark was forbidden, the Levites, a specific tribe of Israel, were responsible for transporting and safeguarding the ark. Now, back to the holiest of holies, where the ark was kept. The high priest entered this chamber once a year on Yom Kippur to make atonement. Just in front of the Holy of Holies is the holy place, or Heikel. This chamber contained the golden altar of incense, the table of showbread, and the 7-branched menorah, or candelabrum. These items had specific ritual significance in Jewish worship. The outer area of the temple complex was the courtyard. In this space, various rituals, including animal sacrifices, were performed. The courtyard was open to the public. Here, the altar of burnt offering, which is located in the courtyard, was used for the offering of burnt sacrifices. There were rooms and chambers surrounding the temple, which were used for various purposes, such as storage of sacred vessels, priestly vestments, and other necessities for temple service. These elements together made up the components of the Jewish temple. The first temple, also known as Solomon's Temple, was built in Jerusalem by King Solomon in the 10th century BCE. It was constructed on Mount Moriah, where, according to tradition, Abraham had prepared to sacrifice his son Isaac. It served as the central place of worship for the Israelites. It housed the Ark of the Covenant and was the primary location for offering sacrifices and conducting religious rituals. The first temple was torn down by the Babylonians in 586 BCE when they captured Jerusalem. This event led to the Babylonian exile of the Israelites. But what about the second temple? This was built after the Babylonian exile ended in 538 BCE when the Persian king Cyrus the Great allowed the Jews to return to Jerusalem. Under the leadership of Zerubbabel, the construction of the Second Temple began. The Second Temple was later expanded and renovated by King Herod the Great in 19 BCE, making it more grand and ornate. This renovated temple is sometimes referred to as Herod's Temple. The Second Temple, like the First Temple, served as the central religious and cultural institution for the Jewish people. It was a focal point for worship, prayer, and religious festivals. Still, it was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE during the First Jewish-Roman War. This event significantly affected Jewish history and led to the Jewish diaspora. Indeed, the importance of a temple in Israel is non-negotiable. And since the destruction of the First and Second Temple in Israel, it is clear that a vacuum has been created in Israel, so you would think that the Third Temple would be swiftly built. So why are things proving difficult? What is really stopping the building of the Third Temple? You see, the story of the building and destruction of the First and Second Temple is one with numerous events happening in between. As a matter of fact, every time the temple was destroyed, something swiftly replaces it. Interestingly, during these times, even Jerusalem has never remained the same. Here, an excellent example of this is seen in 70 CE. After the Roman conquest and the destruction of the Second Temple, the Romans renamed the city Aelia Capitolina and established a Roman colony there. Following this, it took grace for Jerusalem to return back to normal. Now, just as Jerusalem was affected by the numerous conquering of the city, the temple suffers the same fate. As the story goes, it is said that after the Second Temple was destroyed, a new building and an entirely new religion were introduced to the Temple Mount. We are talking about Islam, which is one of the largest religions on earth. Mind you, the Temple Mount is not only relevant to the Jews, but is also of high importance to the Muslims. This is because of an event Islam known as the Night Journey. Tell me about the Night Journey of the Prophet. Following this, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is said to be the third holiest site for Muslims all over the world, and is second to Mecca and Medina. Muhammad. Because of this, after the Second Temple was destroyed, two tremendous and monumental structures of Islam were erected on the Temple Mount. We are talking about the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of Rock. The Al-Aqsa Mosque, also known as Masjid al-Aqsa, is believed to have been initially constructed in the 7th century CE, shortly after the Islamic conquest of Jerusalem. However, the current structure has undergone multiple renovations and expansions over the centuries. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is characterized by its simple and elegant Islamic architectural style. It has a series of arcades, prayer halls, and domes. It is one of the holiest sites in Islam, often referred to as the farthest mosque. It holds a special place in Islamic tradition as the location from which the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have led prayers during his night journey, as described in Islamic tradition. The night journey, known as Isra and Miraj in Islam, is a significant event in Islamic tradition that is believed to have occurred to the Prophet Muhammad. It is a miraculous journey that took place during a single night, and it holds spiritual and theological importance for Muslims. Isra, the first part of the journey, known as Isra, is believed to have taken place when the Prophet Muhammad was in Mecca, early in his prophethood, around the year 621 CE. According to Islamic tradition, the angel Gabriel, or Jibril in Arabic, transported the Prophet Muhammad from the Kaaba in Mecca to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. There in Jerusalem, the Prophet Muhammad led a congregation of previous prophets and offered prayers. Following the Isra, the Prophet Muhammad soon experienced the Miraj, which is the ascension into the heavens. He was taken on a journey through the seven heavens, meeting various prophets along the way. Finally, in the highest heaven, he had a direct encounter with God, known as a Sidrat al-Muntaha. He received guidance on matters such as daily prayers. The night journey is considered a profound spiritual experience and a testament to the prophethood of Muhammad. It underscores the close relationship between the divine and the prophet. It serves as a reminder of the importance of prayer in Islam. From all that has been said, it is understandable that the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque are integral to the religious and historical identity of Jerusalem and hold immense importance for Muslims around the world. Thus, both buildings have undergone various restorations and maintenance over the centuries to preserve their architectural and spiritual significance. While the building of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of Rock might not be a bad idea for Muslims, the only problem hinges on the location of both structures. For many years now, the Jews have been complaining that the Dome of Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque sit right on the foundation of their previous temples. But of course, this claim is argued against by Muslims. Many believe that the Muslims are intentionally eliminating every evidence of the last Jewish temples from the Temple Mount in order to preserve their control over the mount. However, things have recently blown up with scientists stepping into the game and uprooting intriguing discoveries. What did the scientists and archaeologists find? Now, despite a lot of Islamic opposition, Jewish archaeologists have been able to excavate the Temple Mount in some areas to find evidence of the previous temples. Here, what they have discovered so far will amaze you as far as evidence of the earlier temples is concerned. In 2004, while conducting a construction project to repair a water pipe south of Jerusalem's Old City, workers accidentally uncovered the Pool of Siloam. The Pool of Siloam is mentioned in the New Testament, specifically in the Gospel of John, where it is the location of a miracle performed by Jesus. According to the Bible, Jesus healed a blind man by instructing him to wash in the Pool of Siloam. The discovery revealed a large stepped pool with 2 sets of stairs leading down into the water. It provided insights into the city's ancient water supply system. Inscriptions and pottery fragments found in and around the pool dated it to the Second Temple period, around the 1st century CE. This confirmed its historical authenticity and connection to the time of Jesus. Currently, the Pool of Siloam site has undergone archaeological excavation and subsequent restoration to make it more accessible to visitors. The discovery of the Pool of Siloam added to our understanding of the historical and biblical context of Jerusalem and provided tangible evidence of the temples in Jerusalem. It remains an important archaeological and historical site for scholars and a point of interest for tourists and religious pilgrims. Indeed, the discovery of the Pool of Siloam is not only groundbreaking for the archaeologists, but is also vital for the whole world, Jews and Christians alike. It not only provides evidence of the past temples built on the Temple Mount, but it also proves that the Jews were more step-ready for the building of the Third Temple. This is because the Pool of Siloam is likely to aid temple worship again. The Pool of Siloam had significance in the context of temple worship in Israel, particularly during the Second Temple period. While it was not a part of the temple complex itself, it played a role in some rituals and aspects of worship. For example, the Pool of Siloam was used for ceremonial and ritual purposes, especially during the annual Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot. During this festival, water from the Pool of Siloam was drawn in a golden vessel and carried to the temple as part of the water libation ceremony. This ceremony involved the pouring of water at the altar in the temple, symbolizing God's provision of water during the Israelites' wilderness wanderings. Ritual purification was an essential element of temple worship. People would immerse themselves in the pool to purify themselves before entering the temple. Ritual purity was required for participation in various temple activities. While the Pool of Siloam is not mentioned as frequently in the Hebrew Bible as other bodies of water, its association with the biblical account of the miracle performed by Jesus, as described in the New Testament, adds to its significance for Christian traditions. The pool served as a source of water for the city of Jerusalem. This water source was vital for daily life and for various ritual and practical needs, including those related to temple worship. Overall, the Pool of Siloam was a significant feature in the religious and practical life of Jerusalem during the Second Temple period. Its connection to temple rituals, especially during the Feast of Tabernacles, highlights its importance in the context of Jewish worship in ancient Israel. Now, as for prophecies, what do they say about the Third Temple? Now, it is clear that the Third Temple must be built for many physical reasons pertaining to the Jewish tradition. However, the spiritual reasons outweigh all else. According to the Jews, they cannot fully attain Shekinah if the Third Temple is not built. Shekinah is a Hebrew term that is used in Jewish theology to refer to the divine presence or dwelling of God. The word Shekinah is derived from the Hebrew verb shakan, which means to dwell or to reside. In Judaism, it represents the presence of God's divine glory or radiance. The concept of the Shekinah is vital in Jewish spirituality and worship. It signifies God's immanence and the belief that God is present among His people. In particular Jewish traditions, there are rituals and practices designed to invite or experience the Shekinah's presence during prayer or worship, such as lighting the Sabbath candles, reciting prayers, or studying the Torah. The Shekinah is not something that is attained, but rather something that is acknowledged and experienced through faith and devotion. It serves as a reminder of God's closeness to His people. It is often associated with moments of divine revelation, guidance, and protection in Jewish tradition. Sadly, all of this cannot be experienced without the Third Temple being built. Furthermore, when we talk about the spiritual significance of the building of the Third Temple, the realm of prophecies shines. You see, the Third Temple is not just required to be built to fulfill the immediate demands of worship in the present time, but is also relevant to things that must come. According to prophecy, the Messiah would only come after the Third Temple is built, and a series of events must also take place within it before the Messiah comes. But who is the Messiah, and what do the Jews believe will happen when he comes? In Judaism, the Messiah, or Mashiach in Hebrew, is seen as a future anointed leader from the lineage of King David, who will bring the ultimate redemption of the Jewish people. The Messiah is expected to establish a time of peace and prosperity, gathering the Jewish diaspora. Now, we must note that the Messiah is not only expected by the Jews, but also by Christians who already know the Messiah as Jesus Christ and are, in fact, expecting him not for the first, but the second time. But it gets even more interesting as the prophecies of the rebuilding of the Third Temple do not stop here. There is also the abomination of desolation that happens before the Messiah comes. In the books of Matthew 24:15 and Mark 13:14, Jesus speaks of the abomination of desolation in the context of the end times prophecies. In these passages, Jesus warns of a future abomination of desolation, saying that he will stand in the holy place and advises those in Judea to flee when they see it. It is considered a sign of impending destruction and judgment. In the end, the interpretation of the abomination of desolation and its connection to the Third Temple is a matter of theological and eschatological debate. Some interpret the abomination of desolation as an event that occurred in the past involving the desecration of the Second Temple perpetrated by Antiochus IV. However, others view it as having future fulfillment in the context of the construction and heresy of the Third Temple in Jerusalem. Following this, it is widespread belief that the Third Temple will be built and then desecrated, triggering apocalyptic events before the eventual coming of the Messiah. The abomination of desolation may not be palatable. Still, it is definitely worth it if it indeed ushers in something as good as the coming of the Messiah. This may be why there have been a series of attempts to facilitate things like the Australian Christian. You wouldn't want the Messiah's return, right? Yet how soon the Third Temple would be built remains unknown, as the tension over the Temple Mount remains unresolved. A rash move by the Jews to reclaim the Mount might lead to nothing short of a war, which no one really wants. This is one reason why Benjamin Netanyahu, the current Prime Minister of Israel, sticks to the status quo for the sake of peace. We've come to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching till the end. Does the Third Temple stand a chance to be built? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.